More SEC coach firings. We got playoff rankings and some sneaky matchups this week in Week 11 of the SEC. Locked On SEC Squad. Roll along.
You're talking ball with the SEC Squad. From Alabama to Tennessee, from Georgia to Oklahoma, from Auburn to Texas, it's the local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network bringing you scoops, breakdowns, and the most comprehensive preview of the upcoming SEC weekend. It's the SEC Squad, and we have a seat for you. Hurt feelings and thin skin are prohibited. Squad up, you're part of the SEC Squad.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into the SEC Squad. Sit back, grab your favorite beverage, and join us as we get you ready for another week talking all things SEC. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the FanDuel app today. Let's welcome in our squad this week. We've got John Miller, Locked On Mizzou. We're in a Knicks hoodie for some reason. We got Stephen Willis, Locked On Ole Miss. He's doing it right. He's got the Rebel gear on. We got Jimmy Stein, Locked On Bama. He's got the little A there on his whatever that is, quarter zip. And then Corey Burton, Locked On Vandy, rocking it from Nashville. I'm Chris Gordy, Locked On SEC. And gents, we got plenty to get into, but let's start as we do every week. Very quickly, just give us a prediction about your team this week if your team is playing. John Miller, we'll start with you.
Well, I predict that Missouri better keep its quarterback healthy. We're down to our last scholarship one. Matt Zollers showed a lot of potential and really kind of juiced the Missouri offense a little bit after Pribula. Bo Pribula, of course, got hurt against Vanderbilt. So it's going to be interesting. Missouri getting a lot of respect here as a 6.5-point underdog at home against an undefeated Texas A&M squad. Could Missouri be the spoiler here down the stretch? I don't know. It's going to be up to that quarterback position because that defense is legit.
Yeah, fresh off of Halloween weekend, Zollers sounds like something you found in your candy bag. Stephen Willis, give me a prediction for Ole Miss this week.
Well, Ole Miss plays the Citadel, so hopefully you see a lot of Logan Diggs and Austin Simmons get some reps and gets everybody out of the game pretty quickly because this November to remember is going to continue on.
Yeah, real quick, when we get to those game previews later, don't think we'll be doing much on the Citadel, Stephen. We'll just put that out there. Jimmy Stein, give me a prediction for Bama this week.
I think a fired-up LSU team, almost a rejuvenated one with Brian Kelly. I'm expecting an LSU team to play really hard, and I think the difficulty in the game is going to be you don't know what they're going to do, especially on offense. Brian Kelly's gone. The OC is gone. The running back coach is now the head coach. A play caller has kind of been the tight ends guy. There's going to be some wrinkles how Alabama defensively adjusts in game to what LSU is doing. It's going to be a big surprise. Adjustments will decide who wins this game.
Yeah, good news for Bama, it's at home because we could see an LSU team actually live up to its potential this week, and that would be trouble for Alabama. So we'll see. But ding dong, the witch is dead. Brian Kelly's gone. Hey, Corey Burton, give me a prediction for Vandy.
Well, for one, hopefully they learned how to tackle in the perimeter. Because that was very, very poor, if I'm being nice, against Texas. So hopefully they'll learn how to figure out how to tackle Cam Coleman at some point. And I think this team is going to have a major bounce back against an Auburn team who's going to theoretically get that interim coach bump with DJ Durkin. So that'll be an interesting game right there. How A, Vanderbilt bounces back, and B, what Auburn looks like, because I really have no clue with DJ Durkin and all past things about Auburn. You can just kind of wipe off the table there.
That's the funny thing, guys, is and that's where I wanted to go next. We did have another SEC coach fired this week. We had Sam Pittman at Florida. We had Sam Pittman at Arkansas. We had Billy Napier at Florida. We had Brian Kelly at LSU, and now we have Hugh Freeze out at Auburn. And very funny that we're saying this, like we don't know what to expect. We just saw Billy Gonzalez reinvigorate Florida, and they nearly pulled off the upset of Georgia this past week in that rivalry game. But what did you guys make of Hugh Freeze being fired, and are there more to come with 4 SEC coaches already out?
I don't know about more to come, but like I feel like with Hugh Freeze, I feel like an Auburn fans probably sharing the sentiment is it's about time. Like the operation just looked lost. DJ Durkin and the defense just looked like they were on an island, and they couldn't really do anything to juice the team because all their efforts were wasted because the offense couldn't really do much. And then I don't know. It just seemed like the culture was toxic and bad, and just this is a breath of fresh air for them. It seems like from a few of the comments in some of my videos and watching some of Zach's stuff this week, it seems like the team is rejuvenated and kind of rallying behind DJ Durkin. So all in all, it was a much needed and welcomed move by the players and the fans.
Yeah, you never want to be the game one with an interim coach. That's just the fact. LSU, Auburn, you're going to get a good effort. You want to be a game 3 against an interim coach because that's when they start packing it in just a little bit. Now, the good news for Auburn is Derek Nix is going to get to call plays, which is what he was supposedly hired to do. So I'm interested to see exactly what that would look like. I know DJ Durkin said they're going to attack. Let's see what that looks like.
I think with an SEC fan base, guys, you need to be able to sell the fans, the people that financially support the program and to some extent literally pay the players. You have to sell them on results or hope. And Hugh Freeze had neither at the end. I think Auburn fans they didn't see any positive results and had very little to zero hope that it was going to get better. I think this was something that had to be done.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, what happens with these teams moving forward. Before we get into this week's matchups, guys, let's get into we did have our first batch of college football playoff rankings, and like I had somebody tell me many years ago, if you're paying that much attention to the first batch of playoff rankings, you get a hobby because they don't mean jack in the grand scheme of things, but it is to get excited and kind of look. And as we look at it, guys, there were 6 SEC teams in the top 12. Vanderbilt's still holding strong at 16.
Yeah.
They have the chance that they went out, they could get in. Missouri, I don't know, John, at 22, even if they went out, it would only be 1 ranked win. I don't know if that'd be enough to get them up there, but they could be in the conversation if other teams fall behind. And I was a little surprised Tennessee coming at number 25 with the 3 losses already, but what did you guys make of the rankings?
Go ahead, John.
I'm sorry, I was just going to say, I would still even be a little bit surprised if Missouri wasn't at least right on the cusp. If they go 10-2, you said 1 ranked win. Well, they would beat, in that scenario, hypothetically, they would beat Oklahoma and Texas A&M, Oklahoma on the road there. I got to think Oklahoma's probably ranked at that point. We'll see. I don't know. But to your point, yeah, I mean, the spots are getting really thin for sure. If you're an SEC fan and you're wanting to get 5 bids in potentially, looking like 4 is very likely. Potentially 5, well, you got to root against the Big 12. Right now, the ACC is looking like a 1-bid league. If the Big 12, if there's a little bit more chaos, specifically with BYU and Texas Tech, of course, maybe they're a 1-bid league too. In that scenario, maybe you get 5 in if you're the SEC. Obviously, if you're a Missouri fan, you're a Vanderbilt fan, you're on the bubble, if you will, and you kind of got to win out. You may want to root against the Big 12.
Yeah,
I already do that anyway, so.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, sure. As a former Big 12 guy, yeah, those people like to talk a lot of smack in my comments.
They
so
do
yeah,
talk a lot of smack. Yeah, they do talk a lot. Listen, Ole Miss fans after that, they immediately said, "Hey, can we sign this in blood, and get this?" Because starting off with Virginia at home and then moving on to the Sugar Bowl to play Texas A&M, all Ole Miss fans would be extremely excited about that. One thing that I'm interested about is they might call it a 12-team playoff, but number 11 and number 12 did not make it in because Memphis is not even ranked. And then Virginia is ranked like 14th. So you've got 2 bid stealers essentially so far early on, and Oklahoma has Bama. Basically that game might be a playoff elimination game one way or another.
Yeah. Well, that's what Tennessee, Oklahoma was this past week. And Tennessee did not respond at home, losing in Knoxville. So that kind of took them out proverbially. But you're right. I mean, it is, we tried to do this whole thing that we corrected. Remember last year was like, well, if you win your conference, you move to the front of the line. And we all realized how stupid that was. So they corrected it. Well, guys, when I look at the rankings, we need to just do the 1 through 12. Like, what's wrong with 1 through 12? Why do we have to still go, well, if you're the ACC champ, you still got to get in? Oh, we got to give the group of 5 a chance. How about the group of 5 earn it? Go undefeated as a group of 5 team and play a tough non-conference schedule. Like, to
give
me,
them their own
insanity.
tournament. Give them their own tournament.
I would watch that. I would watch Memphis and Boise State. Yeah.
Yeah, give them their own tournament. I mean, I think every other level of college football has their own tournament. Why not just split Division I into 3 tournaments? P4, G5, and FCS, and just crown 3 national champions in Division I. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I'm with Chris about what he said earlier. You can't look at these first batch of rankings and assume a lot, because it's really, all the jigsaw, puzzles going on the floor from here, and you're, we'll see there's a lot of football left before the rankings that really matter. But I do think you can look at these rankings to determine how the committee's thinking. Are they looking at the metrics and the numbers, or are they going by eyeball test? Because you need to know that as we go along. And what's a little frustrating to me is they clearly went by the metrics as to why Georgia Tech's way back and BYU has teams with losses in front. They clearly, to some extent, took strength of schedule into account in the metrics. But 1, 2, 3, Ohio State, Indiana, and Texas A&M, it seems they went by eyeball test there. They feel that, I think the committee chairman said last Tuesday, we think A&M's not as good defensively as Ohio State and Indiana. That's what he said. They're going by eyeball test as to the 1, 2, 3, but seem to be applying the strength of record and strength of schedule metrics further back. So it's a little inconsistent and confusing to me, but that's kind of how the committee has always been.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that Oregon fell back, because Oregon's best win is against Northwestern, and they got absolutely dog walked by Indiana. So if they would have been 5th or 6th or 7th, that would have been a signal to that the committee is doing the stuff that they were doing last year. But them at 9, it kind of feels like the right place.
Yeah, and Ole Miss getting some love too. I mean, they were number 7 in the AP and coaches poll, but number 6 in the playoff committee's poll. Good.
Yeah, I was just going to say, just getting back to the group of 5 discussion a little bit, I wonder if we might start thinking about a cutoff at a certain point. Like, you have to be in the top 20 to get that automatic bid as a group of 5 in the playoff rankings, whatever that cutoff might be. I don't think that's the craziest idea in the world, but I like your all's more radical approaches, at least for a thought too. Maybe you do break it off into even more tournaments. More.
I mean, think of the recruiting. Think of the recruiting. Think of like what those G5 programs could do money wise, recruiting wise. Like, hey, you can come win a national championship at Ohio University. The recruiting there would be outstanding.
Even more absurd, a year ago, the group of 5 champion, Boise, had a bye. They had a bye because they were among the top 4 highest ranked conference champions and had a bye. And while I do appreciate the job that Boise's done, I do think they're legitimately good with some dudes like Ashton Jenny. The quarterback was a good player. There were probably Power 4 teams not in the field that would beat Boise straight up on a neutral field. And they had a bye.
And you look at the way it's set up, Memphis traveling to Athens, Georgia, that's basically a home game for the Georgia Bulldogs that you don't have to pay attention to. Georgia would win that game by 3 or 4 touchdowns if that game was played in Athens. And wouldn't it be better if Memphis had a chance to win a national title because they deserve that instead of being a sacrificial lamb to one of the most talented teams in the entire country? I mean, it's kind of like the states where there's 5 or 6 different state champions and the states where there's only one state champion. That's kind of the argument here.
Yeah. I mean, Texas has got 6A. I wouldn't be shocked if they're going to have
12A. 7. I think Texas has 7 class. Georgia used to have 7 classifications. They've bumped one back. Tennessee has 6 classifications somehow. Tennessee should not have 6 classifications.
I forgot I was talking to Mr. High School Football in
Mississippi has 7. Tell me there's 3 million people in that state, and there's 7 classifications.
Well, gents, all this is going to figure out in the wash the next couple of weeks, and we got some games to react to and preview coming up this weekend. That is coming your way next right here. SEC Squad talking more ball coming up next.
Playoff action football would be amazing.
Ooh, yeah.
Back to the squad in just a second, but first, when the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with SupplyHouse. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. If you need parts fast for a project, SupplyHouse is next day delivery. Talk about a game changer. The part finder tools and 3D schematics, they can save you hours on jobs where every detail matters. And their Trademaster perks like priority shipping and dedicated support make the whole process smoother. Join the free Trademaster program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit SupplyHouse.com, sign up for free, and use our code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. That's at SupplyHouse.com. Real people, real service. All right, gents, SEC squad rolling along here. Let's get into some of the matchups in the SEC this week. And, we kind of had some of these games these last few weeks that I describe as sneaky, where, like, you look on paper and you go, this team's supposed to blow this other team out. But it continues on, guys. So many games in the SEC this year are decided by one score or less. It just keeps happening. Nobody's blowing anybody out barely. So let's get into some of these games. Let's start with your game, John, 2:30 Central on ABC. It will be 8-0 undefeated Texas A&M at number 22 Missouri. You mentioned already about Matt Zollers being the guy, but what's the recipe here? I mean, is this going to be – do you have to lean on Ahmad Hardy and get that run game going?
Yeah, I would certainly think so, but I'd like to see the return of the dink and the chunk offense for Missouri because Zollers really does have a heck of an arm. I mean, he's a high-level high school prospect. Of course, he's a true freshman. You'd like him to have some more experience, but I think if you're Missouri, you got to lean on that arm strength if you're going to win this game, and definitely lean on that Missouri defense for sure. I think that Tiger defense is good enough to certainly bother the Texas A&M offense. Like you say, I just wonder if the Tigers are going to have enough offensively to win the game. But on the whole slate, I really think all of these SEC games have the potential to get weird.
Does anybody else think A&M is going to come crashing back down to earth at some point?
If Missouri had Bo Prabula this weekend, I would be almost like adamant that I sort of like Missouri in that spot. But I think Zollers, he's the real X factor here. I mean, it's hard to imagine a true freshman making his first start against the number 3 team in the country with all that's at stake. I think it might just be too much for him. But if they had Prabula this weekend, I'd be like, hey, watch Missouri to upset A&M. A&M due to lose. They've played a lot of close games and are probably due to lose. I just don't know that Zollers is enough.
Yeah, I mean, those edge guys for Missouri, I think, are going to give A&M fits.
Yes.
I mean, I've said it. I got a little bit of pushback on some of my comments, but I said, Zion Young and Damon Wilson are two of the best edge players, the best edge duo probably in the country. Most definitely the league. I mean, those guys are ballers, man. And Marcel Reed is going to have to contend with that. Colin Klein's going to have to contend with that and figure out how to game plan for those guys. And to add to that, it's not like they're not tough on the inside too. That nose guard, John, I don't know what his name is.
Chris McClellan, probably.
McClellan was just bench pressing Vandy's center all day long and just had control of him all day long. And that was impressive too.
Yeah, the most important thing in this game is going to be Missouri staying on schedule. You can't being 3rd and long against this Texas A&M defense. They'll eat a freshman quarterback for breakfast because they eat senior quarterbacks for breakfast when you have long yardage. So you're going to have to stay on schedule. Ahmad Hardy has to have that game, and you need to not run the quarterback because when you run the quarterback, you risk an injury. And as John said, this is their last scholarship quarterback.
Yeah, and just quickly an obvious point, but on the true freshman making his first start, hey, better at Faurot Field than Kyle Field. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And let's say this on Matt Zollers. He was a top 100 recruit. This isn't, he's not some slappy that's just being thrown out there. This is a guy that was, 4-star and number 93 in the composite rankings. So
that dude has boys, man. He's good.
He's got a cannon for an arm, and he's athletic too. Pretty good size, 6'3". I mean, he's an impressive player. So he's an impressive talent. We'll see what happens on Saturday, though.
And a true freshman quarterback going off against Texas A&M, that's not exactly a new thing. So it could happen.
I'll tell you guys, too, I'm one of the awards I vote for, the Lombardi Award. They announced their 13 finalists this week. Cassius Howell from A&M is one of those finalists. He has been a monster this year at A&M. So watch where he is. Don't let him get close to Zollers or it can be trouble. Everybody feel like, are we picking A&M? Matt, John, are you rolling with Mizzou? What are we doing here?
I think I gotta go with a Larry Johnson L. See, there we go. That brought the New York Knicks thing together. No, an L for Missouri. Unfortunately, I think it would be insane to pick Missouri this week. Quite honestly,
do it, John.
But not so insane. Again, 6.5 points. I'm telling you, there's a little psychological thing there where our fans over at FanDuel are going, take Texas A&M, take Texas A&M. This game could be a lot closer than most people think.
Yeah,
I think it'll be close. I think it'll be close. And I think I'll be saying, boy, if they had Prbula, they might have won that game.
And if Texas A&M loses one game, if they lose to Missouri, they're going to lose two.
Yeah, and don't forget they made mistakes in that LSU game before that second half blowout. I mean, they had a blocked punt. I mean, they had a bunch of stuff go wrong in that game. Let's get to this one real quick, guys. 3:00 Central on the SEC Network is 4-5 Auburn at number 16 Vandy and Corey.
Game of the week, baby. Game of the week.
It's like we said, we don't know what the hell. I don't even know who Auburn's starting a quarterback yet, but we'll see what happens. But man, it's Vandy's got to get back. It's the second straight year, Corey. They finished the Texas game going, if we had just had 3 more minutes in that game, we'd probably win it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they can't start the first 3.5 quarters getting blown out either. I mean, that's just that can't happen. But I think one of the things they found was that maybe they don't have to be this ball control 55 play, run it all the time team. I mean, they found some things in the passing game against Texas, surprisingly, that I think they could use going forward, because this is going to be a really important 3-game stretch for them with Auburn and then a bye week, then Kentucky and Tennessee, to potentially have a chance at making the playoff field. You look at it and you have to say, okay, if they can have Eli Stowers go for $150 again, like this game will be a walk. And if they could just start faster, if they can just tackle better on the perimeter, if they could just make Auburn try to earn it. I don't know who's going to play quarterback for Auburn. I have to think that it's not going to I know the effort's going to be there, but the execution, I don't know that the execution just magically improves drastically. I think, you're going to get some effort plays and you're going to get a few things defensively for Auburn that they haven't done all year because of the interim bump. But Vandy just has to go back to playing disciplined football. Don't beat yourself with penalties and turnovers, and just make Auburn beat you instead of essentially giving the game to them by poor tackling, penalties, and turnovers.
The one thing that scares me in this game for Vandy is Texas and Steve Sarkisian kind of got in his bag in the early part of that game, and there were weapons on the outside, the tackling in space. It looked like you could kind of out-athlete at times Vanderbilt on the outside. And whenever you have Cam Coleman, when you have Eric Singleton and those dudes on the outside, that is a potential caution point for the Vanderbilt Commodores.
Yeah, and they've played in other games, they've played those fast screens and they've played those slants really well. Against Missouri, I think they played the fast screens pretty good. They came.
I wanted Missouri to throw a lot more of them against Vanderbilt, but
I know I'm surprised you didn't. But Vanderbilt, I think, played those really well. I think they played them really well against Alabama. They didn't cover the deep stuff much against Alabama, but I think they played the shorter stuff a lot better and a lot tighter. But they didn't get after Arch. They didn't make things difficult for Arch until midway through the fourth quarter. And that's a problem too. You've got to force, because Jackson Arnold, if he's the starter, presumably, he can make some mistakes if you get after him. I don't know enough about Ashton Daniels to know what he would do, because the offensive line play was just so atrocious against Kentucky that didn't really matter. Yes, I was one of the sickos that watched that game.
Me too.
But it's I don't know. You have to just scheme wise, they've been able to play out of their athletic mismatches in a lot of their games. Against Texas, they were just that first play hit for a touchdown, and I just think they were shell shocked and just couldn't recover.
Well, I don't see how Auburn scores. I don't think Auburn's going to score enough points to win the game, and Vanderbilt's a difficult prep even for DJ Durkin, who's doing a good job. I love that stat this week. It's shocking. The only 3 teams have given up 24 points or less all year: Indiana, Ohio State, and Auburn. Defensively, this is a good team. They're good, but they just cannot score. They won't score enough points to win in Nashville, not against that Vanderbilt defense.
I was going to say, if the defense shows up and they play, I mean, DJ Durkin making a case for being the permanent coach there at Auburn. This would be a big one if he could find a way to win it. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think I agree with Jimmy. I don't want to overrate the fired coach, new coach, interim bump here on just the 1 week here. I agree with Jimmy. I just don't see Auburn suddenly is going to find a bunch of points and first downs that they haven't had the last few weeks. I just don't see it.
Or all year, really.
Yeah,
exactly.
The one thing that Auburn could do, and it wouldn't surprise me, and the way that Auburn might win this is short field off of a fumble, a punt return for a touchdown, something like that could helps the offense to where Auburn gets above 24 points. That's probably the goal in this game. Get above 24 points. And if you could do that, you'll likely win the ball game. But I don't think that Auburn can do that.
No.
When we return, fellas, we got a couple more to touch on, including the big one for Jimmy. Normally a big one, LSU-Bama. We'll talk about that coming up next. More squad action in just a sec, but first, NBA is back. No better place to get in on all the action than with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of a game, you can jump in. They got live betting. They've got, of course, if you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel, they got live bets from everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Of course, they got all the pro action as well, college football. We tell you every week about some of the big SEC lines. If you want to get in on it and you haven't done it yet, might I recommend our friends at FanDuel. Keeps every game exciting, especially when your team is making that late push in a game. I love the upset picks. If you like a big upset in the SEC this week, you can make that over at FanDuel. Right now, FanDuel giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Head to FanDuel.com, sign up, and play your game with FanDuel. They are the official sports betting partner of the NBA, FanDuel.com. SEC squad talking more ball, and gents previewing some of the games this weekend. We got LSU 5-3 at number 4 Alabama. This one before the season, I thought, oh, this is going to be a big one. LSU not living up to those expectations, firing Brian Kelly. That said, Jimmy, I look at that roster. There's still a ton of talent, NFL talent. I think a lot of these guys are going to hear their names called, in next April in the draft. So for Alabama, they can't let their guard down, but it feels like that's been the story of this season has been Alabama not letting their guard down and continue to play their game and keep winning.
Yeah, Brian Kelly didn't get fired because he wasn't signing enough dudes. I mean, this is just a typical LSU's got dudes. They always do. I think the difficulty for Alabama, I mentioned it earlier in the show, is LSU's going to make changes on offense. There's no question they are. The running back coach is now the head coach, the tight end coach. He's going to call plays. There were probably, imagine this, staff dissension under Brian Kelly. The assistants probably wanted to do some other things, and Brian Kelly said, no. Now we're going to see those other things, whatever they are. I think Alabama has to implement a defensive plan based on 8 games of LSU tape. But then the game's going to start Saturday night, and LSU may be doing something completely different. I think in-game adjustments that Alabama defensive coordinator Kane Womack is going to make will be the key. Because if LSU can score 20, 24, 25 points, their defense has been good all year. Their defense will give them a chance to win if their offense can score into the mid-20s. Alabama's only averaging 29 points a game against SEC competition. I think if LSU can find points that haven't been there the last couple of weeks, this can be a close game. I suspect LSU is going to play very hard, and they typically play well in Tuscaloosa at night. I think it's going to be relatively close, but in the end, Ty Simpson throwing to his great receiving group has been just a bit more efficient than Garrett Nussmeier throwing to his talented group. I like Ty and Alabama's receivers to win the game, but it's going to be tight. I would say, the line's around 10.5. I think Alabama wins by around 9 or 10.
Jimmy, you make a great point with the receiving cores and Alabama's offense. I think they're going to have to find a way to take it, early to mid fourth quarter. Like Ty Simpson's going to have to go on some drive, I think, to really either put the game away where it's like tight, or maybe if it's like a close game and they're just like 4 points down, kind of like what Georgia did against Florida. You have a drive like midway through the fourth quarter to go get that win against a fired up LSU team. And I think that's what it's going to come down to. And I trust the Heisman hopeful and his talented group of receivers versus Nussmeier, who behind a kind of a pitiful offensive line almost, especially at the tackle position. They've just been subpar all year. I don't know if that magically changes either. But I think Alabama in an edger here for this game. It's going to be, thankfully, it's going to be at home for the Crimson Tide.
And I will predict that in this game, Michael Van Buren is going to get to play. He is going to lead a touchdown drive for the LSU Tigers, and that is kind of the wrinkle in the package in this ball game. And that's going to make this game a lot closer than people thought it was going to be. Again, this is a first game with an interim coach. You never want to be the first game. Frank Wilson with UTSA, they did some stuff interesting back in the day going on. He likes to run the football. LSU has trouble running the football, so they're probably going to try and scheme some runs and stuff like that up this week.
Yeah, I was going to say, you said LSU trouble running the football. They don't try to run the football. When they've run the football times, they've had success at some points, but like they don't stick with it. Against A&M, Harlem Berry had some great runs in the first half. Do you know he carried the ball once in the second half against A&M? Like, that's how you lose games. And so I think you guys make great points. To me, though, Jimmy, we talk about the Heisman. Ty is building the resume. This would certainly be one to really start to put up those stats. I know that's not the end-all, be-all, but Heisman's still very wide open. This would be a big one for Ty to have a big game and really start to move up that and solidify himself as tops in a lot of people's minds.
Yeah, he doesn't put up PlayStation numbers. I don't think that's his thing. I think what separates Ty maybe from the other quarterbacks is just simple efficiency. He's still thrown one interception. I mean, we're going into game 9. There's just been one pick for a first-year starter. It's not
John,
like he's doing –
or Jimmy, I'll do it for you.
Yeah, I get it. That's probably a terrible thing to say out loud for the Alabama fans listening, but it's not like he throws for 400 yards. It's not like Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard are on track for 1,000-yard seasons. Again, they're only averaging 29 points a game against SEC opponents, but Ty's been very good keeping Alabama, keeping the chains moving, possessing the ball, very few 3-and-outs. They possess the ball and don't make mistakes, force LSU's offense to drive the length of the field to score multiple times to win the game. I like Steven's kind of prediction about Michael Van Buren playing a driver or two and driving and scoring. I mean, I can see that coming. There will be changes on LSU's offense. I think that's the certainty. What's uncertain is what will those changes be?
Yeah. Stop putting the statue of Nussmeier back there. If he can't move, put somebody back there who can move. I mean, that's hey, our O-line sucks. Let's keep drop back and passing. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. Nussmeier killed back
we got 2 other games, guys, so I'll just put it up to whoever. If you feel strongly about either of these. Georgia, Mississippi State. Anybody got a vibe? Good for State. They finally got an SEC win, and this is in Starkville.
Yeah, this is going to be for Georgia. It's going to be interesting for them to go down in that environment. I mean, they've been struggling early in games defensively, and I mean, they're getting a little bit better, but like it's going to be kind of tricky if they get down with all those cowbells. I'm not saying that they won't win the game, but like it'll get kind of tricky. But again, Mississippi State's going to have to win it in the fourth quarter because it's like that Undertaker meme where he just pops up out of the coffin. Like that's Georgia in the fourth quarter, seeming like so. I mean, that's going to be one to kind of keep your eye on where you're like, oh, Mississippi State, oh, and then all of a sudden you look at it again, it's like, oh, yeah, Georgia woke up.
Corso was always saying closer than the experts think. I mean, I can see that happening here. It would be truly shocking for Georgia to lose in Starkville. I don't see that happening, but I see Mississippi State keeping it close.
Yeah, it was the truth last year, and Georgia was like 20-point favorites or something. So, yeah.
It'll be interesting. It's I think Mississippi State scored 30 in Athens last year, and Mississippi State's going to be jacked up. It's at 11 o'clock right after that Florida game. I mean, feels like everything's in Mississippi State's favor to at least make this close game, but I do not think they are at the point where they pull off the upset. So give me Georgia in that game.
Not that one. Chauncey Bowens is an absolute unit.
Yeah. Blake Shapen said this week, though, their goal is to get to a bowl game. Mississippi State's 5-4. They just need one more. If they got it over Kirby Smart, they'll throw a parade there in Starkville.
Yeah, there's nothing more dangerous in the Egg Bowl than a 5-win team.
Right. One more, guys. Florida, Kentucky, a battle of 3 and 5 teams. One coach already fired, another one trying to get fired at Mark Stoops. But anybody got a vibe on Florida, Kentucky?
Gross.
Really?
Hey, this Kentucky team is figuring out how to create rock fights, and this game is going to be a rock fight.
I could
It's
see
like-
either team winning this game. Either team could win this game. And I wouldn't have said that before Kentucky. Kentucky played hard and beating Auburn, pretty good on defense. Florida's pretty good on defense most of the year. I'd see either team winning this game. I would slight edge to Florida just because they've got more players.
When it comes to playing hard, both these teams are outstanding, but like the execution of everything and just putting enough plays together to go win a game, it just I don't see it, man. But Florida is more talented of a roster, and I think that'll actually play out. Cutter Bowley's good, but this Kentucky team is just not. I just don't think they're ready to just win games outside of what they did last week. 10 points is not gonna. That's not going to win you any other game.
Week. No, they're going to have to win.
It won't win.
Really, I'm kind of getting a pro-Kentucky vibe here. Maybe it's the New York Knicks shirt and Karl Anthony Towns went to Kentucky, of course. But I don't know. There's just something about Florida and Kentucky here. I'm thinking Florida, if you're a Gator right now, you're going, what? Sorry, what? Lexington, we're 3-5. What do we have to play for? If you're Kentucky, I know it's the portal era, but at least historically, Kentucky beating Florida means something to that program. Can they not get up for this one? Do they not care about Mark Stoops at all? I don't know why. I just feel like Kentucky's going to win this one.
Yeah, they went 30 years without beating them, and then they finally have beaten them a couple times.
Yeah,
Steve, unleash your joke.
Yeah, Dan Mullen ruined my favorite joke of all time, and that was the Atlantic will defeat Florida before Kentucky.
All right, Steven, on our way out,
Solid.
you get 20 seconds to talk about Citadel Ole Miss. Go ahead.
It's going to be a sloppy game. Trinidad Chambliss needs a couple more reps to get ready and get his timing back of what's going on. Get Kejuan Lacey out of the game, play defense. It might be sloppy, win the game, move on to Florida.
Ole Miss by 1 million.
Yeah, you're a top 6 team. That's the only reason I gave you that. If y'all were 500, we wouldn't even mention that.
Yeah. Heck, on my show, I'm talking Florida Gators this week. So, yeah.
There you have it. Well, gents, it's going to be a fun week. It sucks when we get to week 11 because it's like, God, we only got a few more weeks left of this. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting, especially if your team is still alive for postseason play. For John Miller, Stephen Willis, Jimmy Stein, Corey Bird, I'm Chris Gordon. It's been our Locked On SEC squad. Come on back and see us next week.
Peace. We could talk football all year long, though.
Is that allowed?
It's definitely not frowned upon.
That is